Curses and cauldrons, potions and spells. You are now tuned in to the Disneyholic Show.
Hello and welcome to the Disneyholic Show. That's Jen Diz.
And that's Mike TV.
We have an enchanting episode brewing for you today, starting with a wicked debate about witchy characters in the Disneyverse, plus our mid-season review of Agatha All Along.
Trying to figure out what do witches do with their hands so I could do it in our Zoom YouTube
witches
pop-up.
Spells. And we could put curses on people who are listening to the audio. Oh my goodness. Well, it is still Halloween season. It's mid-October. And
yes,
it's the witching season for us. And for today's episode.
Oh, I thought you were saying for today's episode, dot.
Nope. Just that. And I thought it would be fun not only to do a kind of witch-themed game, but also dig down into what classifies a Disney villain or character, because they're not always bad, they're not always evil, as a witch. What makes a witch? And so that is the premise of the game at the beginning of this episode. So we're going to go through and talk about sort of what is typically classified as a witch, some traits, abilities, behaviors, things like that.
Okay.
And then I'm going to take us through a list of a whole mess of Disney characters, actually Disneyverse characters, because we got some witchcraft in Marvel. We're going to talk about Agatha later on at this episode. We got witches in Pixar and all over. So we'll talk about everything. But all right. So a witch has magical abilities. And it could be that they cast spells. It could be that they control the elements. It could be that they have telekinesis and can move objects or float through the air. They could also make objects enchanted. So that's one way, is thinking of magical abilities.
Okay.
Another one is if they're connected to the supernatural. So let's say they have what's called a familiar. It could be an animal like a black cat, a toad, an owl, that is sort of like their protector. They also might be able to place curses and hexes on people, which is oftentimes considered supernatural. And sometimes their connection to the supernatural means that they can shapeshift. They can turn into other creatures or other people even. Okay, so another way to identify a witch is if they have magical tools.
Magical tools.
Tools. They may have a magic wand.
Okay.
They might use a cauldron. They might have potion bottles and a workshop station for all their what's the word? Apothecary needs.
Apothecary jars.
And they usually have a book of spells.
Always a book.
And instructions of things and history.
Necronomicon.
Another way you can find out if someone is a witch is how much they know about the occult. Now, you could be a fan of witches and not a fan. And not a witch. But most witches have some sort of knowledge. So they might know about the hidden forms of magic. They might know all about rituals, about folklore. And they might also be able to use things like crystal balls to read tarot cards, to cast runes, and other kinds of divination spells. They might also be masters of manipulation and deception.
Ooh, those are
So,
the dirty ones. I don't like those
ooh,
ones.
yes, they could be good with disguises. So maybe they're not shape shifting, but they're really good at disguises, or they're really good at seduction or persuasion and manipulation through
Mm.
psychological or magical means.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes witches are associated with forbidden powers, even dark powers. They might be connected to demonic forces, making all kinds of deals and pacts with dark entities and demons.
Ooh.
They might also do things that are for good, powers for good, but still scare people or can be perceived as dangerous. So there's some moral ambiguity to their powers. Another way to find a witch is they may live for a long time, an unnatural amount of time, long lives, even immortal sometimes, because of their
Mm.
magic or their genetics, their witch genetics, or sometimes they can just escape death entirely. So that immortality is another tip off for a witch. Witches are also usually very rebellious. They like to reject societal norms. They're often seen as outsiders or rebels. Sometimes they isolate themselves from the rest of their people. And while witches don't always have to be women, they often are associated with female empowerment. They are symbols of female power, and they're embracing what it's like to use all the power as a woman and rejecting the patriarchy.
That's right.
Witches also are known for having strong ties with nature. We talked about potion making, but that means they also know about different herbs and elixirs, natural remedies. And sometimes they tie their powers to nature in terms of the moon, the stars, seasonal cycles. That
Oh.
can even change the rituals and spells that they can do. Oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, I heard you say, oh, sure, women. We're talking about women here.
Women humor.
Um, and a lot of times, not always, but most of the time, especially in the Disney verse, they are a bit villainous and their intentions are usually related to some sort of obsession with doing something evil or bad that, or something that others may perceive as evil.
Okay.
They might also use their villainous intentions to change the story. They want to manipulate a character's fate somehow. So those are all the ways we'll classify what a witch is. Now, also disclaimer, because we are an inclusive podcast, we do know that there are real witches out there, and there's like Wiccan um, groups and things like that. Today, we're just talking about the fun, silly Halloween fictional witches. So, getting that
Okay.
out of the way. All right. So, the game itself, here we go, is I'm going to list off characters, and you and I get to be the judge. Are they a witch or are they not a witch? And
Ah,
the
okay.
only way it's decided is by full consensus. So if we ever have a conflicting opinion in our judgment, we have to convince the other one way or another
Okay.
to
All right.
join the dark or light side. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Up on those broomsticks. Here we go. Let's start with something relatively easy. She is known for her dark magic, her curses, and her shape shifting. Her name is Maleficent. Dun, dun,
Mm,
dun. And you know what's also interesting with these characters we're going to talk about? A lot of times they're never even outright called a witch
right.
in their movies. And so, do they identify as witches? That's a whole other question. But here we go. Maleficent. What's your opinion? Witch or not a witch?
I think she is a witch. Um, Two major things that immediately come to my mind are she uses a crow to be like
Oh, there you
her.
go. Her
What are they?
familiar.
What did you call them?
The familiar. Your
Yes,
familiar.
the familiar. So she has her little crow friend and definitely shape shifting.
Yeah.
into Maleficent the dragon,
The
amongst other
dragon.
things. So, yeah, I think just that alone, let alone all the manipulation and the
Yeah.
evilness that's just going through that woman's veins. Oh my goodness.
The
So, yes, I'd say she's
curses.
a witch.
She hexed the spindle so
That's
that
right.
when Aurora touched it, she was cursed. I will agree with you on that judgment. And the verdict is Maleficent, you're a witch. But, we like these witches. They're pretty cool sometimes. So
Guilty.
we're not going to send them to the stake. We're just going to put them in the witch house of witches.
Sounds good.
Okay. This next one, I couldn't find if there's a name for this character, which is weird.
Okay.
But we know her from the very first Walt Disney animated feature length film, Snow White. And she is referred to as the Evil Queen. Is she a
And or
witch?
the old hag.
The old hag. Now, that's both sort of a disguise and shapeshifter. It's like a double double.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't know which one that's supposed to be. I think it's shape shifting because she completely
Yeah.
changes into, right? She's not wearing a mask.
And guess how she does it? Through potions.
Potion in her giant cauldron, and she
Yeah.
also has a crow,
She also does. Yeah.
and she manipulates and tricks with her poison apple.
There you go. She has a slave of the mirror who is like
The yes, the
some
mirror
entity trapped
slave.
into an enchanted hexed mirror. Crazy. And
Yeah.
she's definitely trying to change the course of the story of that kingdom. She wants to
Hmm.
be the fairest of them all.
And
All
the
right,
old hag has like the straight up classic witch look to her also.
she does. She definitely does. So that is a verdict guilty. She's the witch.
Guilty. Thank you. That is all.
That is all. All right, now we have this is a group. They're three sisters from Hocus Pocus and Hocus Pocus 2, the Sanderson sisters, Winifred, Sarah, and Mary.
I mean, even though they don't just fly on brooms, they also fly on Hoovers and Roombas or whatever.
Hoovers.
Swifters. I don't know what's going on with that. Um,
Oh yeah, in
yes,
part two, uh, what's her Mary? She's on
it
a
gets updated.
Roomba. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so funny. Yeah, that's like
Um,
classic witch spirit Halloween costume.
right.
Um,
And they've
Trick or treat.
got time travel, which I don't know if that is
Oh,
maybe not time travel, but it's more of a materializing. Like they can go away
yes.
and come back, whatever that trick of witches is. They also do curse spells. They have tools like their black flame candle, and they
Ooh.
have the book.
The book.
You do better.
And they
Book.
use all this stuff to avoid death, so they could be
Mm-hmm.
near immortal.
Yep.
Very seasonal. They love a Halloween season. They like to
Yep.
come out
Only
during
come out in
Halloween.
Halloween season.
Guilty. The Sanderson sisters, witches.
Guilty.
Okay, next we have Wanda
And wait
Maximoff.
for it. Were you trying not to say the Scarlet Witch?
Yes. Wanda Maximoff, aka Scarlet
The Scarlet
Witch.
Witch. First of all, for those of you who are not watching YouTube right now, Mike has these beautiful um platinum blonde, we'll go with eyebrows, mustache, and goatee. Is that a goatee?
It's goatee, yeah.
And when he was fussing with the Scarlet Witch thing, his face got a little more scarlet. It was very obvious what the white against it
Oh,
was pretty
shoot. Yeah, I could feel it's also hot
yeah,
in the room
flushed.
that I'm recording in. I'm trying to give a warlock witch wizard vibe
There
here.
you go. I love it. Okay,
So
sorry, Scarlet
Wanda.
Witch. Yes, she has the book also. What is her book of?
Oh
It's not just
yeah.
Book of Darkness, is it? What is it called?
The
Dark,
Darkhold? Darkhold?
Darkhold. Wait, or is it Darkhold the magic? Is it the book?
Book.
What's the book that not Amanda, what's her name? America, something America.
Oh, the Book of Ashanti.
Book of Ashanti. That's what I was thinking of. Okay,
Yeah.
scratch that.
Yeah, she's got a book.
Um, She does
She,
magic,
yeah.
she does spells, she created a whole city that doesn't exist.
Yeah. She hexed
Um,
the whole suburban community of
yes, and all the people trapped in it.
Wayview. Wayview? Is that right? Sounds weird.
Westview.
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 Yeah.
Yeah. I'd have to
Yeah.
say she's a witch.
She's a witch. And it's interesting because, we're talking about sometimes they don't say it. She hasn't really identified as a witch until the end of WandaVision when Agatha said, Girl, you're the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
And she's
She had
like,
to tell her
Oh,
she was
okay.
so transfixed in her
Yeah.
own spell that she
Yeah.
forgot.
Otherwise, before then, she was just an Avenger, a superhero, a mutant from the X-Men.
Hmm.
Fascinating. Okay. Lady Tr-
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty, Wanda Maximoff. And we'll talk about you again later when we do the mid-season review of Agatha All Along. Okay, next up from Cinderella, Lady Tremaine.
Hmm.
Mm.
Lady Tremaine, just off the cuff, does not give me witchy vibes. Just bitchy vibes.
She's kind of just a see you next Tuesday, right? She's got the
Right.
hair. She's got
She's
the
got the
Winifred
hair.
hair.
She's got some of the clothes. If they were just like different colors, she'd look a lot more witchy. Um,
She has resting witch face.
she definitely does. Um, but she doesn't have any, she doesn't curse spells or put spells on anyone, or she is a little manipulative. So she's got
Yeah.
but she might just be a narcissist
Tries to
instead.
control, yeah, everything to her
Hmm.
liking for her daughter's benefits. Daughters
Yes.
plural, not Cinderella.
Um, let's see. I don't think she has any special powers. So I'm gonna say
She doesn't.
no to this
Say no.
one.
She's also sometimes referred to as the wicked stepmother. So
Ooh.
she's like on the fence, but I'm gonna also say no. I'm
Okay.
gonna say because there's just not enough magical or supernatural stuff. She's just a really evil person.
We should have branded this as witchy or bitchy.
Witchy or just a bitch. Uh, so not guilty, but you're still going to jail for child abuse
Yeah, for being awful.
and kidnapping, all the things she did. Um, the fairy godmother, Cinderella.
Oh, okay. This can be like kind of the what's her name from Wizard of Oz, the Good Witch, like Gilda is
Glinda,
her name. Glenda, thank you.
Glinda coming soon from to Wicked also.
Okay, let's see. I would have to say so. She does have magical powers. She can fly. Can she? Or is it the three fairies from
I think you're thinking of Sleeping Beauty.
that she doesn't fly at all?
I
I'm
can't
trying to
picture
picture
it.
her popping up.
She does apparate, like she'll
Yeah,
disappear
she
and
just
show
like
up
appear,
somewhere.
right? Okay.
Yeah, she's got a
So she doesn't
wand,
float in, she just like materializes also.
materializes.
And she has the wand, you're right, the tool. But she's like such a good one, but I still think she's a witch.
Yeah, I think you could be a good witch, totally. Like you said, like Glinda from Wizard of Oz. I I agree. She's a witch, and I think you could be multiple things at once. You could be a fairy and a witch.
You're right. And she also has a spell, like Bippity Boppity
Oh
Boo
yeah,
is
there you
a
go. Just a
yeah.
trademark spell. In a way, she like hexed the animals to turn them into the things and the pumpkin,
Right.
and then it had an expiry date of midnight.
Yeah.
Oh, but what a nice witch she was. Okay, Lady Tremaine. I mean, not Lady Tremaine. Fairy Godmother. I don't know if she has a name either.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Guilty, but you get to hang out in the nice witch house
Yeah, you get to
because
kick it.
we
You're
like her.
cool.
Queen of Hearts, Alice in Wonderland.
Ooh.
Witch or just a bitch?
Right off the bat, I'd say just a bitch.
I think so, right? It's all just mean things again that she does.
Yeah, she's just like barking at people the whole time, right? Like screaming and ordering people around. So she's a bit controlling. She has
Uh-huh.
some aspects of her personality that I don't love. However, no magic powers. So I think she's gonna get stuck in the bitchy side of things here.
That one's tricky because she is otherworldly, but that's because everyone in Wonderland is
Right?
weird
Yeah,
because they're like in another dimension technically. Um, and if she was truly a witch, she could just change all the roses red without asking the cards to paint them red. That's
that's
what
right.
a smart witch would do. I will agree that she is not guilty of witchcraft, the Queen of Hearts.
Okay.
Also, I don't know her name.
She just
That's
needs
three.
therapy.
Is there three? Or a better partner, a better husband. He's kind of weak.
Oh, that poor little guy. He's
Yeah.
so tiny. She can't even hear him probably.
Weak. Okay, next we have Mother Gothel from Tangled, who kidnaps and puts Rapunzel in her tower.
Okay. I'm going to be honest, and I can't remember much about Mother Gothel. I just remember that she was also very bitchy and she locked her daughter up. I think she might just be
Not
like,
the daughter. She kidnapped that girl from the kingdom. Not even her daughter.
oh, shoot.
Even worse. But like Lady Tremaine, like, is it just child abuse, kidnapping, or witchcraft?
I think again, she's more on the bitchy side. Let's see. Yeah,
The
no, she's got the look down. She's got the witchy look down, which is nice.
yeah,
She could fit right in if she needed to. However, I don't see her doing anything very unique other than just being bitchy.
the all the magic powers came from a flower, which then found itself into Rapunzel's hair. So even the magic she's after is not natural to her. She's trying to steal it from
Mm.
the plant or Rapunzel. So, ooh, this one's hard because I immediately thought she was a witch, but now I can't think of anything that's not just
This is
human
also
stuff.
making me realize I need to rewatch this movie.
Oh, it's so good. I think I've seen like the cruise ship play more than I actually watched the movie,
How funny.
but I really like it. I like the music.
Yeah.
Okay. So, ooh, I wonder if people are listening. They're like, no, there's absolutely something she did that's witchy. But we are the judges here today, and we are saying not guilty, Mother Gothel, but
Ooh, I thought you were going to say something else.
you're still going to jail.
I haven't had anybody do that yet. Just insert Mother Gothel instead of Mother something
Mother
in their
Gothel.
language.
Um, okay. You've seen Enchanted and Disenchanted?
I don't think I saw Disenchanted.
Okay, the first one should be enough.
Okay.
Queen Narissa. So Queen Narissa was played by, I was going to say Sylvester Stallone. She was played by Susan Sarandon in Enchanted, and she was the villain.
I remember literally nothing about her. So this is all you.
Okay.
You said the
She's
queen. I'm like, I don't even remember a queen. I just remember the what's her face in regular land, like New York.
so Queen Narissa existed in the cartoon in which
Okay.
Princess Giselle came from before she went to
There
New
you
York
go,
City.
Giselle. Thank you.
And Queen Narissa, I believe, is a witch. Seemed like she was very much inspired by multiple Disney animated witches, like Maleficent
Okay.
and the evil Queen Hag, old hag. She also turns into a dragon at the in the finale. She does all kinds of spells. She even poisons an apple, just like in Snow White. And she put curses on multiple people, and she put a hex on it. I think she turned somebody into a squirrel or something. So definitely a witch.
Sounds like it. I'll agree with you there.
Queen
Guilty.
Narissa, guilty, 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 guilty. All
Guilty,
right.
guilty, guilty.
Next is going to be one that I need your help. explaining who it is.
Uh-oh.
Lady Cluck from Robin Hood, the animated movie. She's a
Oh,
henchwoman for Prince John, and she would carry out his orders. I'm assuming she's a fowl, some sort of bird.
I'm very confused. Lady Cluck is like besties with Maid Marian, and
Ooh.
they play like badminton together. I don't remember any henchmen
And she's
that
got
was
the
her anything
blue,
like her.
like the blue outfit. She's kind of
She's
like a
yeah,
nun,
yeah.
nun like.
She kind of looks like that. She's just like a big hen. Um, I think she's just like wait, I don't think now I'm tripping. Is Maid Marian part of the same kingdom that Prince John is? Like, are they like related?
Part of the same kingdom. Yeah, I don't know if they're related
I
in the
can't
Disney
remember. Like,
version.
is she at that castle because she's taking care of things? Or like what is she who is she what is she even doing? I just thought
So
she's like besties with Maid Marian. She's like her always thought she was like Maid Marian's handmaiden or something like that.
yes, I think that is actually what she is. They call it a lady in wait,
Oh,
and like Juliet has it in Romeo and Juliet. She has one in her
okay.
room, and then like in Game of Thrones, Khaleesi has one that's always hanging out with her. So Lady Cluck is that, and
Okay.
I was provided misinformation from the Book of Witchcraft, saying
Oh,
that she worked for Prince John, which I don't believe is true. She seems nice.
yeah,
Nice.
she doesn't do anything witchy. She's very just fun and playful the whole movie. She's not in it too much. So
Hmm.
we're gonna say "Brown." Not guilty.
Not guilty. Keep doing what you're doing.
Just
You're a
be cute. Just keep being
nice
cute.
friend from Maid
Yeah.
Marian. All right, next up we have from deep under the sea, Ursula,
Ooh, okay.
witch or
Ursula is
just a bitch?
definitely a witch. She's got a
Mm.
whole cavern full of potions. She has a cauldron. She makes Ariel sign her life away on a magical scroll. She takes her voice and shape shifts into Vanessa.
Oh yeah, she
And
shapeshifts.
yeah, she's
Oh
got a whole
weird.
lot of witchy stuff going on. And at the end, when she's all gigantic and
Oh
oh
yeah,
yeah,
change shape.
for sure.
She's got potions galore. And in the source material, actually, do they say it in the movie? Now I can think. In the source material, she is known as the Sea Witch. I don't think she even
That's
has
right.
a name until Disney gave her a
I
name.
don't remember if they say it. I feel like they do, but I couldn't tell you for sure.
Yeah, there's a part where Prince Eric goes, "You better back off, you dirty sea witch." No,
That
I don't think he
definitely
says that.
happened.
I don't think he says that, but I do like she transformed into a pretty shape shifting human, not a old
Yeah, it's
hag.
usually the opposite.
Yeah,
Poor thing.
Vanessa. Vanessa.
She had to woo Prince Eric.
Guilty. Ursula is guilty of
Guilty.
all the witching things. Madame Mim from the Sword in the Stone, which you
The
can sometimes see
champion
at the
shapeshifter herself.
Boogie Bash, right? She shows up every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
She has her own little station. Yes, she is the champion shapeshifter.
She is.
Name
I'm
three
trying to
things
remember.
he changes into.
She changed into a bird, a cat, and a rat or mouse. I think it's
A
rat
squirrel?
or a
She,
squirrel.
oh, wait, is that?
I think there's a rat in there
Oh, no,
somewhere,
I'm
no?
thinking of the boy.
Oh, yeah.
Arthur turns into a squirrel, and then a real squirrel female falls in love with him, right? And
Oh.
he's like, "Get away from me! I'm not a squirrel."
He's like, hold up, this is real awkward.
Yeah. So does that make Merlin a witch? I guess he's a wizard. Like in Harry Potter
Wizard.
world, there's wizards and witches, so they would have gone to the same school.
Is that just gender bias though on those two?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not
So we
sure.
have
Wizard and
wizards, witches, and then we also have sorcerers and
sorcerers
genies.
and sorceress is
Those can all be
yeah.
really classified as witches if you think about it.
Yeah,
So,
you can be more than one. Dark
all right.
fairy, good fairy. Okay, so Madam Mim,
I think she has
verdict.
a cauldron too. She's guilty.
Yeah, and she does
Definitely
look.
witch.
She has that
She looks
classic
the part for sure.
witchy. Guilty, Madam Mim. Guilty. Now we're gonna move on to one of my favorites.
Oh,
Witch or bitch? Cruella de Vil.
Cruella de Vil. Da, 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 da. Um, ooh, I think she's just bitchy. She's awful, but I don't think she does anything special powers or any crazy manipulation either. She just like steals dogs and makes coats out of them. It's horrible and drives like a
Now,
maniac. She does have the crazy eyes though. I don't know how she gets that.
oh yeah, they like get bloodshot and spin.
Yeah,
She is a really great fashion designer,
she is.
but a witch, she definitely manipulates. She has
She does look the
henchmen,
part. Oh yeah, the henchman. She has henchmen.
no wand, no cauldron.
No book.
Hmm. I think this is a not guilty,
Yep, I think so
but
too.
still guilty of animal abuse
Yes, extreme.
into the jail you go. Tinkerbell from Peter Pan.
Ooh. Okay, Tinkerbell has a wand.
I was just thinking that she definitely does in like all of her non Peter Pan Disney appearances, but does she have a wand in the movie? I can't picture it.
Um,
She always like sprinkles a logo, a castle.
yeah, I'm like, that's how I picture her doing it in the movie too, but I think it just might be picturing that because it's how she does it everywhere else. But I was
Right?
literally thinking the same thing when you said that. I was already thinking about the same thing. I'm like,
The
wait, was
wand.
the wand later? Um,
But we'll give it to her. She does
but
have a
she
wand.
has
Yeah.
magical pixie dust, so she's already doing magic either way, if it's sprinkling from her fingers or her magic wand.
Yep.
Um, she's guilty of both being a witch and a bitch.
Yes. There. She's a fairy witch and a bitch.
Very witch
All
and a
the
bitch.
things.
Very witch and a bitch. Boom.
Wow. Okay. This was one that I didn't think we were going to judge as guilty, but after talking through it,
Yeah, I
she
mean,
dabbles in some witchcraft.
she does. Doesn't she do
Tinkerbell.
something mean to somebody too? Maybe not. I don't think she could do anything mean with her powder. It's just to fly, right?
Mm, I feel like now it's all making up. I'm making it up in my head. I feel like she like did like she poked Wendy or made her hurt like a pinch, but I don't know how she would have done
Like a
that.
voodoo doll going on.
She can transform into a light, a little sparkle thing, and
Yeah.
go around. And she does. It does seem like she lives as long as Peter Pan does, which is
Oh, yeah. We forgot about that part. Never grow up,
long lives.
first of
Yeah,
all. Yes.
fascinating, fascinating.
Guilty. Tinkerbell.
Guilty.
Witch
Tinkerbell,
and a
you're
bitch.
witch and a bitch. Okay, now this next one is something I might have to explain a little bit, but we'll see. Storm from the
Okay.
X-Men.
All
Storm from the
right.
X-Men. Is she a witch?
I mean, already off the bat, she has superpowers, right? She controls the weather.
Ooh, yeah.
Um, I don't think she's manipulative or really evil in that sense. I think she's on the Glenda side of things, uh, doing things for the right reason. However, she still
Mm.
has witchy attributes, so I would probably label her as a witch.
And like her eyes turn white sometimes. They like roll
Oh
back.
yeah, I forgot about that. Yes.
Yes, and like we said with Wanda Maximoff, you can be both a mutant and a witch.
Hmm.
And in some of the Marvel Comics lore, she's also a goddess. on the continent
Oh.
of Africa. She is worshipped as a goddess,
Oh,
which is
wow.
another thing that you could also be a witch and a goddess type of thing. Um, like the oh God, I didn't write her down. Is her name the Enchantress? Thor and Loki's sister
Hella?
from Hela. Yes, witch or bitch?
Definitely a witch. She
Yeah,
even has the look. Like there's nothing not witchy about her.
she probably goes. I identify as a sorceress first and a witch second.
Yeah, she's like, witch, whatever.
Yeah,
I'll take
she
the
likes
big title first.
the
Yeah.
title of sorceress. Yeah. All right. So Thor has a witch sister, and that's really all I had. Those are all
That's good.
the witches and 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 questionable witches. So I think most of them were guilty. We had a handful of non-guilties there.
Yeah, only a few. Most of the Disney universe villainous people are all witches.
Which
Ooh.
by the way, there is a new Disney Plus animated special. It's The Simpsons, like like a short film, but it has all the villains in it, most of the witches from Disney, but they're Simpsonified.
What?
Yeah, it just came out. I haven't watched it yet, but I saw the trailer and I was like,
It's a
okay,
one-off?
it looks cute. Yeah, it's like a one-off Halloween special. It's not the
Cute.
Treehouse of Terror. It's like its own one-off.
Check that out.
I like when they lean into the Disney and they're just like, all right, let's just
Yep, they're
combine.
like, this is our new little home.
Yeah. Speaking of Disney Plus, Agatha All Along, the spin-off of WandaVision on Marvel
Yes.
Television's studio thing. They are now on episode 6. When this episode airs of our episode of this podcast, episode 6 will be airing, which we're all on pins and needles about because there is a huge reveal. And disclaimer, in order for us to have a mid-season review of Agatha All Along, we're going to have to talk spoilers. But you know what? The Agatha and Disney Plus social media accounts don't seem to care. They post spoilers like within 48 hours. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. And I see
Yeah,
people in the
they're
comments complaining, but hold on, what do you do? Don't look. Don't look.
Don't look, be
Uh
there at midnight, one or the other.
6 o'clock now. It's no longer that crazy time. It's like
Oh,
six
really?
and 9. Yeah, I don't have to stay up super late
Oh,
anymore. It's quite
I
nice.
remember when Agatha was coming out, I thought it was midnight. And then I remembered because we were in Orlando at the time, weren't we?
Oh yeah.
And then I remembered, I'm like, wait, it's 3 a.m. over here. There's zero chance I'm staying up for this. So I just gave up. But now that you say that, I guess I could have already watched it while I was contemplating the time difference.
Yep.
I
I
was
think it's
probably already
six
up.
six Disneyland time, 9 Disney World time. And I
How
hope they do
funny.
that with all the rest of the Disney Plus shows at least.
Yeah.
All right. So we kind of grazed over the topic when the first episode came out. And if you remember, you gave it a 3 out of 5, and that was just, barely into the season. Now we're
Okay.
5 episodes in. What is your rating now? Has it changed?
Um, Not too much, but I'm gonna probably give it a 3.5 out of 5. I don't want to jump
Oh,
all the way to 4 because it's a big
okay.
jump. It's only 5 stars.
Only five
I'll do
stars.
3.5.
You got to use those stars sparingly.
Yeah. I need
Um,
some room for it to grow still, and there's not that much
okay.
more if I already go on the 4.
Okay. So I'm hoping that you will be enchanted through this conversation we have about Agatha all along, that perhaps it will influence and manipulate your half
Hey,
star.
sometimes it's all I need is to discuss this with somebody.
There
So,
you go.
some
Um,
things you could just miss and it adds so much more to it. So that's why I like listening to stuff like it, our spoil heavy version.
Boils and spoils, troubles and boils and spoils and what do they
Ew,
say?
not boils.
Toils and troubles. I give it a strong 5 out of 5 out the gate. So I'm definitely
Wow.
biased, and I'm here to try to convince you the same. Okay,
Okay.
so what I'm loving so far about the show itself, the craft, the production, is they are using so many practical on-set visual effects. And I love that so much. It's so fun, especially with like horror adjacent or like scary, spooky things. Like there's a lot you could do before you just jump to cheating and doing it CGI. And they've done a lot there. In fact, one of their there's so many inspirations that we'll talk about, but one of them when it comes to practical set effects and production design was they're inspired by The Wizard of Oz after Dorothy goes to Oz. So they made sure that all the scenes in that take place on the Witch's Road are
Hmm.
meant to look like a practical set and then a mural beyond it, like it's fake beyond
I
it.
did notice that.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I saw some behind the scenes, and everything that you're seeing that is on the practical set is there. All the trees, like the flowers on the ground, all that. And then in the back, there really is a giant painted mural to make it look like the forest goes beyond. And I just thought that was so cool. And I also noticed it. And then when I heard about it, I'm like, oh, okay, got it. I get what they're doing. That's cute. So
That
that's
is
one
very
of the cool
cute.
things. There also was there were two episodes that the creators say were inspired by escape rooms. And this was, I want to say episode 3 and 4. It was two of the trials so far that they've had on the Witch's Road. And the first one, as soon as I walked in, I was like, oh my God, this is giving escape room. I think we also had just done a bunch of them. So I was like in that mindset. Um, but that would be so fun. I would love to do that kind of escape room the way they did it. There was just like so many things that had to be just right. They were on a timer, the clock was ticking. You had to do things in the right order, mix potions, and I don't know. I thought that was really clever. What did you think about that?
Um, I think this part got hyped up for me, and then I was
Whoops.
sad because I heard. I think it might have been you and maybe a couple other people were like, "It's escape roomy," and I was like, "What?" And then I watch it, and it's only like one puzzle. I'm like, "Oh." And then they have a timer ticking down for the rest of the whole time. I'm like, "Okay, what about?"
To get out, to get out. They couldn't get out. There were multiple puzzles. Like they had to look at the phases of the moon on the door. They had to find the right ingredients for the potion. They had to do some other things. And then the one after that was also escape roomy and fun. So I could see there being a like if this show does well or even gets more seasons, like this would be a fun pop-up experience somewhere to do.
I was just saying, what if this is their launch for bringing escape rooms to the parks
Yes.
finally?
The trials of the Witch's Road. And then they don't have to call
It's
it escape rooms. They say it's the trials.
right. You said the directors actually said they were um inspired by escape rooms for that?
Yes, yes. They're trying to
How
think of how can
funny.
we do the trials in a fun modern way. And this the everyone that's involved with this show are just like they love horror movies and they love spooky supernatural witch movies. They're like our generation. So they love Easter eggs, and no better way to sprinkle Easter eggs and have like a set decorated room, like an escape room. Um, yeah, and there was just so many cool Easter eggs in all of these episodes. So I'm loving that. We'll talk about some of them in a second. But the story itself, I think, is cool. I think it's mysterious. And I think even someone who knows enough about Marvel lore or some of the Marvel history with some of these characters, it's still uh, up in the air how they're going to do there, how they're going to get from point A to point B, what actually is going to happen. And they were also saying they acknowledged that Agatha in the comics was never like a major character. She was always a minor character. And it was because of Catherine, her performance in WandaVision, that they said, let's blow this out and let's have
Ooh,
the MCU create the Agatha story.
right.
And here we are. And I
That's
thought
pretty
that's cool.
cool.
That gives them a lot more flexibility than doing, like Captain America or Iron Man, something like that.
Right.
Spooky ooky.
I like that. I like that.
Some of the horror movie Easter eggs that I caught in the most recent episode 5. This is where so in each trial, one of the witches are faced with a challenge that's based on something in their life, which I also thought was cool. It's a nice way to like learn about a character through the puzzle. And in this most recent one, it was 80s horror themed. And they're all in a cabin in the woods. And like all those kind of
Hmm.
movies have a cabin in the woods. And this turned out to be Agatha's trial, which I thought was really cool. She was giving Poltergeist Nightmare on Elm Street football jersey
Yeah,
outfits,
yeah.
pajamas. They so cool. Um, there was a little bit of Exorcist thrown in there. She did the crab walk.
Right.
Um, Speaking of cabin in the woods, there was a lot of Evil Dead in there too. Like her face looked more Evil Dead than Exorcist, and she was even like climbing in the corners of the rooftop, which was pretty creepy. Uh, there was a ghost in there that was her mother. And did you know the special effect they used for that ghost? They purposely used the same ghost special effect as the librarian from Ghostbusters. They wanted it to look just like the librarian. In the very beginning, the opening scene of Ghostbusters, she's scary old lady, like spectral white.
Would they use the same eff Oh, okay. I see what you're
Yeah.
saying.
So they're
Okay.
going for those practical effects. They like look back at some of their favorite movies and said, okay, let's do it using that same old school thing.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
Sort of like if a new ride were to say, oh, we're going to go and do Pepper's Ghost, even though we could do a screen, we want to throw back to Pepper's Ghost.
Right.
So there seems to be a lot of that in this show. Um, they also said one of the scenes that inspired the death or supposed death. I it was still what 5 more episodes or some more episodes. The death of Mrs. Hart, the friendly neighbor from WandaVision. She died a few episodes in, and they said that scene was inspired by. Let's see if you could guess it. It's not even really witchy or horror, but it is like 80s our time.
Wait, this is from WandaVision now?
No, from Agatha. Mrs. Hart, they got through one of the puzzles and then they kind of slid down this
Oh,
long
yeah, yeah.
slide
Okay. Okay.
into the forest. And then
Um,
she found herself, she didn't drink the potion in time for the
right.
escape room. And then she started sinking in the mud and they tried to pull her out.
Oh, it's not. It's not the Swamp of Sadness.
Yep, Artax to a never
No,
ending
really?
story. So this is one of those shows. As I'm saying it already, like there's no way you would know these things unless you watch like or read and all the behind the scenes. And it
Yeah.
definitely is what boosted this to 5 stars and beyond for me. I'm just like, how fun! And then that was also like practical effects too. Um, yeah, so there's that,
And did the
and
directors say that? I'm just like, that feels like a
it's like all of
stretch.
them. It'll go back between the directors, the
Okay, as long as
writers,
it's not some like
the
random
special
guy that's
effects
like, that
people.
must have been from.
No, no, no. The actual, I would say the people who the show runners. Maybe I think that's what
Okay.
they call them. Yeah.
Whoever's, as long as they're involved, instead of somebody thinking the fact that there was mud involved
Oh, that
meant this, you
reminds
know?
me of, yeah. So these were like straight
That's
up
cool.
things that they wanted to bring to the show while they're making it. So cool.
Nice.
And then that big reveal at the end of episode 5. So all the fans before the show even started were trying to speculate who Joe Locke was going to play. So Joe Locke is the actor with the thick eyebrows. He's also from a Netflix show. I think it's called Heartstopper, I think. But he's relatively new. Like this is like his second acting gig. And he's so adorable, like when he's on talk shows and like talk. He's like one of those you know how much we really liked the actress who plays Miss Marvel in
Oh,
real life,
yes.
and she's
I
like
thought
a
you meant Captain
fangirl.
Marvel, my Dewey.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, so he's kind of like that. Like he's just
okay.
so excited and grateful to like be have been
That's
thrown
cute.
into the MCU, going
That's
from
cute.
one, like indie Netflix show to MCU. And then he always talks about how he has trouble with keeping all the secrets, which must be really hard.
Yeah,
especially
I would assume
if
so.
you're new to it. That happened with Tom Holland and Spider-Man as well. So, anyways, um, the fans were speculating who he's going to be, and the wish and consensus was he better be Billy, who is the son of Wanda Maximoff. And we did see him as one of the brothers in WandaVision as a child. He started as a baby and then he grew up as, to a child. And then we saw him in that Halloween episode. And in that Halloween episode, he was wearing a makeshift costume and color scheme. I'd say like one step above Disney bounding to his X-Men character, his Avengers Marvel character, which is called Wiccan.
Okay.
And so we're just putting it all together. We're like, that has to be him. And then they teased us for the first half of this season. They just call him Teen. He's even
Yep.
credited as
They constantly say
Teen.
like we never got his name or whatever.
And anytime he mentions his name or origin, he has a hex. And we still don't know who put that hex on him, but it sews his mouth shut so nobody can hear it. And something happened at the end of episode 5. We lost another character. One of the witches died. Very sad. She has like the orange powers. Agatha took her magic, which killed her. We don't know if Agatha did it on purpose or she truly can't control her powers. What is she up to? Don't ever trust her. It's usually Agatha all along. But it turns out, we find out episode 5, it was Billy all along. Dun, dun, dun.
Billy all along.
Long. Ooh, and it's so good. And then she says to him, "You remind me of your, just like your mother," something like
Yep.
that, where he's doing things that could be perceived as bad or selfish, but because he has some sort of end goal with a loved one. So that's where the speculation comes in. But I will say there was one more thing that was confirmed through the Disney Plus Instagram, and it's wild that they did that. So they didn't say who he was in that episode. You would only know if you have a Marvel friend who's like freaking
Yep.
out about it and telling you, or if you maybe recognize some of the costuming from the character of Wiccan. And then what they did was Wiccan usually wears like this really cool headband. They actually redesigned it for the MCU to look a lot like Wanda's crown, which is just genius. It's just so genius. Like he is
I
the
was
son of Wanda.
confused after because I read that it was Wiccan or something. Maybe you told me first. I don't remember how I found out, but um I went and looked up Wiccan's character and he just has like a headband. So I was
Yeah.
like, are we sure that's Wiccan? Because his headband, but then I remembered the comment about you remind me of your mother. And I was like, oh, okay, okay. So that's why they did that, is because they wanted to look more like on brand with Wanda's look.
Yeah, I think they wanted to
Okay.
make it look a little bit darker and witchier, warlockier. Also, his entire outfit in that episode, when he was in the '80s pajamas, was exactly Wiccan's outfit, but as like sweats, like the
Oh,
right
how
colors, and the
funny.
headband even. So that whole episode, it was just like exciting. Oh my god, are they going to reveal it? And what's crazy is they revealed it visually and they revealed it through Agatha's comment, but it wasn't until a couple days later on Instagram, Disney Plus posted a full-on face picture of Joe Locke as Wiccan, and it says his name. It says Billy Maximoff. So people are freaking out even more because with the movie versions they're allowed to have they have the freedom to make some changes, right, from the comics and make it a little different, keep you guessing. So people are freaking out because his name. Are you ready for the crazy story of who this kid is?
Please. I
Okay,
don't know anything about him.
strap in. It gets weird, and I'm only telling the version that I know of. So there might be a Marvel fan person out there that knows even more. But here goes. So Billy Kaplan is the name of Wiccan in the comics. And
Okay.
so we, as in the nerds, have been waiting for them to drop that, like name drop him as Billy Kaplan. But they went straight to Billy Maximoff, which is even crazier because that's just like full confirmation that not only is he Wiccan, but he is the son of Wanda. Now, at the very beginning of Agatha All Along, when Agatha is still trapped in Wanda's hex, and she's stuck in a mystery TV show. It's not a sitcom, it's like one of those CSI dramas. And it's about this car accident that happened in Eastview, the town next to Westview, and that there was someone who almost died and then someone who did die. And the theory is, so now we're going to speculation, but the theory is that was Billy Kaplan. The reason why
That died or
that almost died in the
almost
car
died.
accident.
Okay.
And then his mom died because there was a death. And the reason why it's speculated is that in the comic books, here's where it gets weird. In the comic books, there is a kid, a human kid named Billy Kaplan that is living with his family. And Billy, as in Wanda's son, Billy Maximoff, possesses Billy Kaplan's body so that he can live as Billy Maximoff. But the question is, it's kind of dark because what happens to the soul of Billy Kaplan
Right.
was in that? And so there's a lot of things there that I think they're trying to make easier and cleaner, as weird as it still is. If it was something like Billy Kaplan died and then the soul of Billy Maximoff went in right into it, then the kid was going to die anyways, type of thing. So that's what we think is going on. And that soul of Billy Maximoff has just been floating in the ether realm. But it also confirms why Teen was able to break the hex for Agatha because his mom is the one who made it. His mom put Agatha in that forever TV show at the end of WandaVision. Okay, so that's the Agatha stuff, but let's go more into the lore of Wiccan. So we all are waiting for the appearance of Mephisto, who was name dropped by one of the witches in like episode 2 or 3, which is pretty
Yeah.
exciting. Like now the name is officially in canon.
I was like, oh shoot. They're like, all right.
There it is. Um, and Agatha in the comics and the show actually has a son named Nicholas Scratch. So for a while, we thought, oh, maybe this Joe Locke kid is playing Nicholas Scratch and they're trying to make us think it's Billy Maximoff, but it's not. So blah, 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 blah. But we did hear Nicholas Scratch's voice when they did the Ouija board in one of those episodes. So that proves that Nicholas Scratch, her dead or lost child, Agatha's, that she sacrificed or whatever, is out there somewhere too. Now in the comics, Nicholas Scratch becomes evil and bad. And in the comics, Mephisto has a thing with Agatha,
Thing.
a thing,
Like a
which
woo thing.
like a little bit of a thing. Uh-huh.
Okay.
And the reason why he is always brought up with WandaVision is because in the comics, this is where it gets weird again. Just you gotta follow along here. It's weird. So in the comics, it goes something along the lines of when Wanda and Vision went off to live their own life, and she magically created her 2 sons. It turns out that those 2 sons were only created with the help of Mephisto, who helped bring them to life. And then combined Wanda's and Mephisto's magic powers, they did come into being as real souls. Like they exist in the world now because of all this witchcraft and all that. Now, somebody got in some sort of fight, and either Agatha or Mephisto, depending on the storyline, took the boys back. And it turns out they're actually just the 2 forearms of Mephisto were the sons. Her 2 sons.
I remember hearing about this at some point. Yeah.
Very weird, right? So so cut to my point is it's so weird. I am looking forward to see how they're going to make this all make sense to non-Marvel people. Even to as a Marvel person, I thought that was one of the weirdest storylines that I
Yeah.
read about. It's like, okay, so how are they going to do that? Are they even going to introduce Mephisto? There's only a handful of episodes left. Um, but anyway, so that's how Billy comes along, and that's why he has so many different names. But when he does eventually learn that his mother is Scarlet Witch. That's when he like embraces his stuff. He puts his outfit on, calls himself Wiccan, and joins the Avengers and the Young Avengers, and he does all that stuff. Which is interesting because Wanda Maximoff also grew up not knowing that her father is Magneto. Do you know that?
I no, I'm not gonna say yes because I don't really, but I kind of did.
And that's a weird one that they never really got to address in the movies because of the stupid legal battle between Fox X-Men
Ah,
and Disney MCU. So they kind of just made her this magical being. But she is the daughter of Magneto, and so is her brother, the guy who goes really fast everywhere. So there's this sort of um, theme of not knowing your parental figures, and you're like stuck with your sibling because Billy does have a brother. He's just not in this show. And now the speculation is a couple of really cool rumors are going around. Rumors, but from like movie people who follow this stuff.
hmm.
They're saying Scarlet Witch feature film has been greenlit. They've said that the WandaVision has been set as a trilogy now, and there's going to
Oh,
be a third chapter, likely trying to find the other son.
were there two seasons of WandaVision already?
No, so they're
Okay.
saying it's WandaVision, Agatha, and then something else.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Okay.
Yep, and then hopefully that leads up into a WandaVision movie, which would be very cool. I mean, not one, a Scarlet Witch full on movie. We love Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda. And so I'm excited that Agatha is actually doing well. It's getting a lot of views for Disney Plus. They're like promoting it and making sure everybody knows that it's getting so many more views than some of their other spin-off shows like Star Wars Acolyte and stuff like that. So I think it's written in the cards in the runes that we might get a lot more of this sort of supernatural Marvel side, which I really like. It's like different than the usual fighting in New York City with aliens and all that.
Yeah, I was saying that to somebody recently. I don't remember who I was talking to about this, but I was saying one of the things I love about this whole side of things is that it's almost more relatable, even though it's still
Yeah.
like WandaVision, I feel was like almost about like mental health in a way, right? There's
Yeah,
like things that you
grief,
could
the
relate
stages of
to.
grief.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like there's things you could relate to on that I've never related to with any other superhero ever. Um, and then, well, Agatha is like witches, so I can't say I not actually relate, and I wouldn't tell you if I did. Um, but I still feel it's more real world than superheroes are. Like, we like witches were like a thing at some point. Superheroes
Yeah,
never have been. You know what I
right.
mean? So
Yeah.
like whether you believe it or not, it was something that existed here in folklore and whatnot. Superheroes, no. So
Yeah.
like that is it's kind of cool. I like this side of things. I did want to ask you though a follow-up about Mephisto. In the comics, where was he most prevalent? Was it in this story with Agatha or Wanda? Like where was he
Mostly
most commonly found?
he was found in Scarlet Witch storylines, which go
Okay.
from anywhere from X-Men to her own comic line to Avengers. And he also, I want to say Fantastic Four. I want to say he's part of that in some way too.
Okay.
And then, in Marvel, there's also just all of these sort of real, like you said, the witches, but like real world mythology that they found a way to explain away by making them part of the Marvel thing. So like Thor and Loki, like the Norwegian folklore, um,
That's true.
like uh there's like a version of hell. There's like a death person. Oh, what's the show? That was a good show on Disney Plus. Poe Dameron. Ooh,
Moon Knight.
Moon Knight. Yes, they did all the Egyptian folklore and turned it into God.
Hmm.
And even like the Eternals were treated as gods, depending on when on Earth they were ruling. But they happened to actually just be like superpowered celestial android things.
That's
So
true.
that's
Moonlight was
interesting.
also like some of those mental stuff too, like
Oh
the split
yeah, he had.
personalities and
Yeah,
disassociative order or whatever. So yeah.
yeah, totally.
Very cool.
And then in the comics, there are so many teams, like team ups of characters that go beyond Avengers and X-Men. There are some that are like just the supernatural, like Ghost Rider, Mephisto, all those, and they'll team up. So they have decades if they keep putting good quality stuff out. They have so much that they can keep telling before they have to like reboot anything, which would be nice. But yeah, Mephisto is usually the way I know him the most is through the origin story of Scarlet Witch's children. And
Okay.
they just added the Mephisto character to Fortnite as one of the new Marvel characters.
That's
So
right.
something's up. I also have a far-fetched theory, which I don't think is true, but I want it to be true. You know how sometimes Disney and MCU will just like completely switch a character up? What
Yes.
if Rio, aka Aubrey Plaza, has been Mephisto all along? I can see that. They
Oh.
are kind of lovers, Agatha and her. She's
Is Rio
death-like.
in the comics also?
Oh, Rio is a original character they created for Agatha all along.
Oh, okay. That's even
Yeah,
more sus.
more sus. The characters that exist that are more likely to be her is there's somebody called Blackheart, who
Okay.
definitely doesn't look like her at all. He looks like he's more like Venom-ish. But she has been called by Agatha as someone with a black heart. And then there's also someone named Lady Death, who's basically like the Grim Reaper, who who takes you from your world to hell. And in a way, she's like chasing Agatha down because maybe Agatha escaped death, and maybe she is death and she's following her. So yeah,
Final
just side tangent.
Destination.
Final Destination. I'm really liking this Rio character. It has me guessing like who she actually is and what her role is in this story. And then also Aubrey Plaza is hilarious. So,
Yeah.
oh, and she did a full-on classic witch's cackle while flying on a broom in the last episode. And I just thought that was so perfect. One more thing I want to say about the connection to real world witches, or at least witches that we know, is the opening entrance for WandaVision. I'm sorry, it's not the opening, it's the end credits where they show all the clips of witches in pop culture, even non-Disney ones. I'm surprised. Like
Oh
they have
yeah.
the
Yeah, The
craft.
Craft was on there. I'm like, The Craft isn't Disney, right?
They show the craft, they
I want to
show
watch
Wizard
that
of
movie like
Oz,
tonight.
MGM's version of Wicked Witch. There's all kinds of little things, but they don't have the Sanderson sisters because I think it's too soon. Like, what if there's a sequel or part three? They don't want to mix them up.
Ah,
But they show a lot. They show a lot of like old spells and tarot cards. I really like when there's a movie or a show where you could tell that the creators they're trying to make something that they want to watch. That's
totally.
fun, right?
Yeah.
It's really cool. And then how about that song, The Witch's Road? You got to hear it live, first of all, at D23. You're shaking your head, doesn't like it. I love it. It's so good. I love how they even have different versions of it. Like they have the rock version that what's her face's mom wrote because it is a protection spell. This is just so genius. It's a protection spell. And her plan was to make it a hit song in the 1960s so that at any point in time, it will be playing at least one place in the world. And as long as it's playing in one place, then she's protected. The dog. I was like, oh,
It
that's
was
just
very
so
smart.
clever.
It's
So
cool.
smart.
Yeah.
Uh, but the song is very catchy, and I think it's also in my algorithm. So I just see so many people doing their versions of it or lip syncing it.
Hmm.
Down, down, down. So good. Love it. Doesn't like it. You don't like it.
I don't like it. I don't know what it is about this show that is just not hitting for me. Um, yeah, the song's not hitting for me. I think it was like because I was excited about like the Agatha All Along song. Like I like that kind of vibe.
Oh yeah.
And then now it's just this kind of weird doo 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 like folky sounding song. I'm like, I don't know, it's just not my cup of tea. But it's fine. It
It
doesn't
is
have to be.
it's very theatrical, very Broadway. Also written by the same people who wrote not only Agatha All Along, but they also wrote all the Frozen music. So they also wrote this new Witches song, which you start to hear because they are very Broadway campy. Like they did Avenue Q, that like Dirty Muppets Broadway show.
Yeah.
Uh, So
I do like that it
it's an
sounds
earworm.
like a witchy one because they can sing it in rounds, and they do sing it in rounds.
Oh yeah.
Um, like it's kind of kind of have to have that for that whole spell binding thing going on. So I like that they have that in this show, but I don't know, just something about it, and it is a lot of it. You heard a
They
lot.
have several times, several versions. And I don't know if you've caught on, but every episode title is a lyric from that song. And we know
Oh,
the
I don't
rest
think
of
I've
that
caught
lyric.
that. No, I didn't catch
Yeah.
that.
So it kind of is giving us some breadcrumbs to
Great.
where
They're
this
probably like
leads.
putting a spell on us as we watch.
Ooh, that'd be cool. All right. That was a long but very necessary
Does it
mid-season
feel better?
review for this
Feel
witch
better?
theme. I feel so good. I've been wanting to talk about it for so long. And I can't wait till this next episode now that we all know who the teen is. Now, after all of that chit chat, still a 3.5 star. Where's your rating?
I think I'm still 3.5. I have to say one more thing.
Oh, oh yeah.
I think the hardest thing for me is there's two things. I've already discussed this on Instagram Live one time, by the way.
Cool.
So if you guys are listening, you'll hear it again. But one thing is like I can't switch back and forth well from campy to spooky for some reason. And like
Oh,
in this
okay.
show specifically, and it's like I don't know if I'm like losing interest during some of it, and then all of a sudden I focus back in. I'm like, what's going on? It's like hella scary all of a sudden, and now we're like making jokes again. I'm just like something about it isn't working for me, and maybe I just sometimes you're like got too much going on in your mind, and a show isn't capturing your attention. I think that's what's happening to me. So maybe I just need to give it another whirl. But the other
It is hard
thing,
to pin down the genre. It's almost like hocus pocusy, but a little bit more mature,
I said that I'm like it's
right?
very like family friendly, and then all of a sudden there's like a fucking demon, like a real demon.
Okay,
Like
the
what?
Salem Seven are very scary.
Yeah, yeah. It's
And
like
in the
what is going
comics,
on? And how did we just get from there to there?
they look so silly and not scary. Each one
Oh
looks
wow,
like
they
an
went to flip with that
they
one.
went to flip.
Interesting.
Each one looks more like the animal that they represent in the movie in the show. You know, they can change each one's a different animal, like an owl or a snake. In the comics, they're humanoid versions of those, so they kind of look like Thundercats
Oh
or something, and not scary at all. And then these ones are pretty scary. They remind me of like the ring, like the way they crawl.
yeah, and
Ooh,
they do that fast thing.
yeah.
Um, and then the other qualm I have with it is the casting. Okay, first of all. Aubrey Plaza, I was like more excited for the show than ever hearing that she got casted. I was like, yes, and it's not it for me. I don't know why.
What?
There's
What?
moments that are, she's got this dry humor thing that I love, and something about the character isn't matching for me. It's just something about it. I don't like it. And it sucks because I love her and I love Agatha and I love the whole like idea of the show. It's just like not landing for me. But the other thing, why? And I don't want to typecast the poor woman, but the '70s show lady just can't do anything anymore. I think she needs to retire
Deborah
because she's just
Joe
permanently
Rupp.
the '70s show lady. I can't.
I've never watched that '70s show, but I know she was the mom in it.
You don't
Um,
even have to. Her
yeah,
character is
she's
like,
very much just like the way she was casted in WandaVision was definitely ripping her out of '70s show.
yeah.
And then to put her in here, yeah, it kind of just carries through. I was hoping she was going to have a big plot twist, but she's either still dead, but she definitely was just the neighbor, non-witchy neighbor.
Yeah.
Not.
I do like the other characters though, especially Liza Minnelli.
Oh my God, Patty LaPone is so good in this, and she's like eating up the role. She's having fun. Um, what's funny is I saw a lot of fans who are fans of her, like Broadway fans. She's a big Broadway person, and they didn't give her enough meaty performance opportunities when they did the song. And they're like, why did they just put her in the
Oh.
back? She was holding like maracas or something like that. But I kind of think maybe it was on purpose. Like I feel like they're all laughing at themselves. There's another actress. Her name is Sashir Zamata. She's from Saturday Night Live. She was previously on Saturday Night Live. She plays Jennifer, the witch who knows how to do the potions and all that.
I like her.
Um, she's queer in real life, so love that representation. And then I sent you a clip recently. She was part of the Disney College program, which, how cool is that? And she got to be Buzz Lightyear. She was inside of Buzz Lightyear talking about how hard it is to maneuver in his costume because she says if you're in Buzz Lightyear's costume, it's designed so your hands cannot touch.
Yeah, you're
And
like
that would
this.
make me so claustrophobic where I'd be like, "Ah."
Especially if you fall, you can't like. First of
So
all, you
we
sent
got
that to
another
me. I
fan.
watched it, and I just was like, "Oh, this is cool insight on what it's like to be Buzz Lightyear," without realizing that she was anybody that I knew.
Didn't connect it. Love it. So she, yeah, another fan within the series slash
That's
cast.
cool. That's very cool.
Very, very neat. And with that, I would say that was the witchy episode we have been conjuring up for a couple of
I
weeks
love
now.
it. Well, one last quick note before we wrap up. I wanted to remind everyone of our Patreon takeover. If you are a patron of the show, a Disney holic just like us, please feel free to jump on Patreon and or Instagram or any way that you want to contact us. Really, send us your topics. We want to hear from you. Again, it could be anything, literally
Anything.
anything you could think of that can go into a podcast form. Challenge us with it. Ask us questions. Do a Q&A. I don't care. Send us a long list of things you want to ask us. Like, let's go. Whatever you guys want to do,
Yeah.
this time is for you. We are going to be launching this in November. So you have the rest of this month is, maybe a little bit sooner so we can have time to prep for episode 1 of November. Um, but yeah, get your topics over to us and we will get those rocking and rolling.
And we love to do the research. What's been on your mind about like Disney or anything within the fandom that you would want to know more about? And we will bring
Yes.
it to you. Just like today, we talked all about the different witches in the Disneyverse, how to categorize them. And then we placed our judgment on those characters. And then we also, of course, talked about the mid-season review of Agatha All Along.
Yes. And thank you all for listening to episode 211 of the Disney Holic Show.
Follow us on social media at the Disneyholics.
And or DM us on social media. I can't see the thing. How did I forget our script?
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Cackle, cackle.